Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, our Scientology stories, Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and we've got a very special show for you today, including a surprise special guest that will be speaking for the first time, and I think you're going to enjoy it. But before we get started here, I'm going to bring in my co-host, Janis Gillham Grady. Hi, Janis.
Aloha, Mark. Good day,
Aloha.
Yep,
I'm getting down to my last aloha shirt. I've got one or two left, I think.
Oh, well, I already ran out of my aloha dresses, so I have to go back to Hawaii and get more.
That's right. Hey, listen, while we are starting, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. I know we get people from all over the world, so check in at the chat. Goldie is in the house moderating, and we appreciate you there, Goldie. And just go ahead and let us know. Somebody else said aloha here, and where are you watching us from? We've got quite a few people in here.
I like this comment. Peel me a grape.
There you go. Somebody's here from Ireland, Wisconsin, Boise, Idaho, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. That's where I was born, not raised, but that's where I was born. Was in Rhode Island. Where else are we from? Paris, France. We got somebody from Paris, France here.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Martin Ottman, that's who it is. Yeah, Wisconsin,
Redondo
Indiana.
Beach.
Yeah, Indiana, Vancouver, Washington. We're somebody in West Sussex in the UK, Colorado, South Africa. Wow, Orlando, Florida.
Germany.
Greetings from the Netherlands. That's wonderful. Yeah, we've got people from all over the world. We just want to keep filling up the chat here, and also waiting for people to log in and start watching our stream here. And if you haven't already, we're going to mention it. Please subscribe to our channel. We're almost at 6,300 subscribers and growing. So hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. And we really appreciate it. If you want to super chat us or super sticker us, you can do that. And we're going to be showing you photographs and talking. We have a special guest we're going to talk to. And then we'll be answering your questions. So go ahead in the chat. If you do put a question, please write the word in capitals question. Or question in front of it, so that way we can spot it and not miss it, and we'll go from there. And that's what we got. Have you got anything you want to say, Janis, before we get started?
Yeah, someone's saying, "Hey, mofo," and koala calm.
For those that don't know, Scientology OSA's their code name for me is Mofo for Mark Fisher, but it's really Mofo, and I'm a bad mofo. Okay, so don't mess with me. And Koala Calm is what Janis sells on her website for Outback Naturals. So anyway, all right. So Janis, if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get started with the news of the week here.
Yep,
all right,
let's go.
Okay, so we got our onion peeling news of the week. All right, for this week. And we're going to start off with, we did a video with Neville Chamberlain was our special guest about the St. Hill and the Sea Project, and that was released last Tuesday. And he was very well received. He got in Scientology in 1954, and he was one of the original Sea Project members and the first Sea Org member you met, right, Janis?
Yes. Yeah, he was like 21. I was 11 years old and 67. When he came to give me a message from my mother, who was on the Sea Project.
That's right. And then we just recorded, actually, a couple hours before this, our next interview with him, which we're going to be going over the liability cruise and some other interesting information that he has, and that'll be out sometime later this week. So Neville is great. He's in the United Kingdom, and we really appreciate him speaking out to us. Okay. The next thing is that I was on Monday Night Live with A.A. Ron, Smith Levin, and Lara FM, and Sarah Seltzer. And that was my first time doing that for 2 hours. And we answered questions. And it was interesting to talk to Lara and to Sarah, who I'd never met before. And so we did that. And then, Janis, you did an interview, but it hasn't come out yet, right? Why don't you tell people about who you did
I did an interview with John Atack. We were talking about Andrew Barton being missing, and then just different things about the Scientologists who are supposed to be helping people communicate better with their communications course in grade 0. And we've got all these different Scientologists who are out of communication with their family members. So, yeah, John Atack and I kind of start off there, and then we just go all over the place talking and still have a lot more to talk about. And I'm not sure when he's going to release that, but that should be pretty soon.
Okay, great. And then the next, we had a special release for our onion peelers out there a couple of days ago, and that's membership on our channel. Now, this is a voluntary. We appreciate all of our subscribers, but there are people who want to contribute one of the ways that YouTube is set up for them to contribute is that we set up 3 levels of membership, and I'm going to go through just briefly and also tell people that we got a lot of reach out from people who wanted to become members, but they didn't know exactly how to do it. So I'm just going to show you real quickly on how to easily join if you want to join one of the membership levels. Right now we have 3 membership levels. We have our peeling supporter, which is our basic level, peeling professional, and then the peeling master is the top level. Okay, and it's voluntary. It's a monthly membership, and you can cancel at any time. And the question is, how do I join? Okay. You have to join on either a computer, laptop, or an Android phone. Unfortunately, iPhones and iPads, they don't have the join function in their software. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, just go on a computer or laptop. You just go to our channel page, which I have down here on the left-hand side is the home page. And then you can see just under the word Grady, it's small, but it says join. And you just click on that button, and then YouTube will just walk you right through it. It's very simple to do. Or on any of our videos that we did, on the right-hand side, I have a picture of my live stream with Gary Jackson Moorhead, and you can see just under the word with, it's got a button there that says join. Okay. And all you have to do is click on that, and they'll walk you through it. But we want to tell people that it's very easy to do, and we appreciate the support. As a matter of fact, we've got 5 members right now that just joined, and we've got Jen, who's a new member. Jay Warren is a new member, and then we have Mahab Raharada and Espanol. I'm sorry if I mangled that name, but I didn't mean to. But anyway, we want to say that she's joined. That person's joined. I don't know if it's male or female. And then also we have Cassie Isaac, who joined, and then one other one. I think it's Delphi. Let me just double check real quick. It is. One second. Disa joined. That's the screen name, Disa. So anyway, we want to welcome those 5 members, and to let everybody know, we're trying to get to 30 members of any of the levels. It doesn't matter which one they are literally by the first week of August. Okay. And then YouTube is going to actually give us a bonus. But we're going to be providing, we're not denying content to our subscribers. It's just going to be some extra perks, extra benefits for the people that join, including if you become a peeling master, we're going to send you an autographed copy of Janis's book, Commodore's Messenger, and so that's all in there. And we appreciate everybody who's joined and wants to be a member, or if you haven't yet, just hit that join button, and we'll go from there. Right, Janis?
Yes. Right, Mark.
Okay. We want to thank you all for your support in regards to that. Okay. So we're going to get started here on our the new thing that we've got here, or what we're going to cover, which is the wedding of David Miscavige and Shelly Miscavige. Janis has photographs from that wedding, and we're going to tell some stories. And as part of that, we have a very special guest that we're going to introduce here shortly. And that person's going to stick around, and you'll be able to ask questions in the chat. So go ahead, and if you're in there, like I said, you can ask questions, super chat us, super sticker us, whatever you like. And we're going to go from there. Are you all set, Janis?
I'm all set, but they also better hit that like button.
Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we go. All right. So we have the Saturday live stream is the wedding, December 1980, between Shelly and David Miscavige. Okay. And
now,
we're gonna,
I won't swear on that date, but I'm thinking it's around that time.
Yeah, well, there's reasons why we think it's December 1980, but anyway, we'll get into that. Anyway, So the story begins actually in Clearwater, Florida, when David Miscavige joined the Sea Organization in 1976. He dropped out of high school at the age of 16. And Shelly Miscavige, she also was under 16 at that time, and she was going to Clearwater High School because it was required at the time at the Flag Land Base, because they were trying to, not create any flaps or any problems with the locals. That if you were under 16, you had to go to school. And so Shelly Miscavige, Mark Yeager, and my future wife, Julie Catano, they all ended up at Clearwater High School for almost a year, and until they turned 16. And then, of course, they dropped out as well. But anyway, David Miscavige joined the Sea Organization in June 1976. And one of the messengers that was there was a girl named Tanya Burden. And that's Tanya Burden on the left there, the blonde. And then on the right, that's Annie Rush, Annie Broker. And this is a photo from that time period, right, Janis? Why don't you go ahead and start telling the story about Tanya Burden?
Yeah, well, Tanya came to the ship around 73, maybe around the same time as Shelly, shortly afterwards, actually. And she was a messenger on the ship as a trainee and ghosting. And then when we moved ashore to Clearwater from the ship, Tanya, of course, was with us. And she was like 16 years old. And she met David Miscavige. They were both working for me. I was the commanding officer of the Commodore's Messenger Org in Clearwater at that time in late 76, early 77. So they were both working for me, and they actually started dating. And I even had a photograph of the two of them that I took, an old Polaroid. And that then led into another story, which, should I tell it now?
Well, we'll get to that in just one second. But what I was going to say is that they were dating, and then eventually she left the Sea Org, right?
Yes. Yes, she left the Sea Org. She blew, and they tried to get her back, and she was in Las Vegas because that's where her family came from. Her dad was a dealer, and they talked her into...
That's a casino dealer, not a drug dealer.
Oh, good point. Here, you say dealer in Las Vegas, you assume it's a card dealer.
Right.
Anyway, so they talked her into getting into the car to go get coffee, and actually kidnapped her and took her back to LA.
Right.
So she, of course, hooked up with an attorney that was already suing Scientology, Michael Flynn, and she filed a lawsuit through Michael Flynn against Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. So later on in years, when Miscavige had the job of getting all the lawsuits handled, one of them was Tanya's lawsuit against Scientology and Hubbard, and she had been his ex-girlfriend when they were 16 years old. And not being part of the whole legal scene, I was involved in management later on in the years, and Julie, your wife, Mark, was also working with me in management. And it was Christmas was coming, and every Christmas, the messengers, we did what was called KK gifts. Everyone's name is put into a hat, and you draw a name, and that's who you're going to buy a Christmas present for.
KK is Kris Kringle.
Right. So Julie had drawn Dave's name, Miscavige's name. So what we would do is we would send little messages to the person you're the KK for, but you don't tell them who you are. You just send little joke messages and that type of thing, and they have to guess. Well, Julie's telling me, I don't know what to do. I got Dave. And Dave was in LA working on the legal as the mission ops. And I said, I got a great idea. I've got this photo of Tanya and Dave. Let's send it to him and pretend we're going to use it as blackmail. It was just a big joke of, he used to date this girl that's now suing the church. So Julie sends it to Dave. And the next thing you know, we've got Dave and Shelly and my sister and some other people, all from Special Project in Los Angeles, and now up at the Int office in Hemet. Who who's Dave's KK? And they want to know right now, who is Dave's KK? Who sent him this photo of him and Tanya Burden? Anyway, so poor Julie is like, that's me. And she ends up in liability. And, I'm like, it was a joke, people. It's a joke. Come on.
Well, and from my end of things, I had just started working for David and Shelly Miscavige like that day or the day before up at the international base. And that was my first duty, was to find out who was his Kris Kringle. And when we found out it was Julie, I mean, they were up there. And Miscavige was pissed off. I mean, he literally went up there and yelled at her. She had her come up to his office, yelled at her, and then Shelly took her outside and gave her I was stood there while Shelly basically yelled at her again and basically said, "You're just jealous because I got Dave and you didn't," right? And so it was a big deal. And this is Julie right here with the long blonde hair. And she was my future wife. We weren't married at the time, and I had just really recently met her. But she apparently also, after Tanya Burden up at the Gold Base, Dave had a liking to her as well, and was interested in her. And so Shelly was just giving Julie a piece of her mind about how, I got him and you're just being jealous, right? The funny thing was, though, Janis, is that I heard after that you messengers used to do dirty tricks all the time, practical jokes on each other. I mean, Julie told me about you guys putting cellophane over the toilet in the men's dorm and then taking the light bulb out so that in the middle of the night when the guys would go take a pee, they would pee all over the cellophane and it would go all over the place.
Yes, we did do that.
And they would do similar type things to you guys, right?
Yeah, and we even short-sheeted people's beds. Yeah, we did things like that.
So all of a sudden it became serious because you guys did this photograph with Tanya Burden, and then all the fun went over. That was the beginning of the end of joking around or with Miscavige or anything like that.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, somebody asked, who's the dark woman in the photograph there? That's Michelle Yeager. That was Mark Yeager's wife at the time. And then eventually, I guess they got divorced after we left. But anyway, that's who that is there. Okay, so then this is a picture of what Dave and Shelly looked like around the time that they got married in 1980s, or like early 80s, late 70s. And that's Shelly, of course, on the left, and Dave on the right. They actually are at the Super Bowl when Philadelphia played the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders at the time. And Dave Miscavige has always been a huge Philadelphia Eagle fan. And they actually drove from the base at Gillham Hot Springs in California around the clock to New Orleans to see the game, and then drove all the way back because basically they only had like 1 or 2 days off. And so they drove back and forth on that. But that's what this picture's from and what they look like. And then Janis, I'm going to go ahead and show this next picture here. Who's this? This is a guy named Tom Francis. Why don't you tell people who that is?
This guy, Tom Francis, he came up to the base in, I think, 79. And he actually dated Shelly, and we have him as our surprise guest.
That's right. For the first time, we have as our surprise special guest, Tom Francis, who was Shelly's former boyfriend, and he actually competed with David Miscavige for Shelly. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tom Francis. Let me take this out here, and here he is here. How you doing, Tom?
How you doing?
Can you hear us okay?
Yes, absolutely. I like the way you said that competition, right? Me and
Tom, I do have to say you definitely were better looking than Dave in those days.
Well, thank you.
And these days.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Tom.
Your picture, Mark, and I said,
What's that?
I do remember him.
Yeah,
I remember you. Of course, I do. Yeah. Absolutely.
I met Tom. We talked beforehand. I met Tom right before he went up to the base up there because I just rejoined the Sea Organization, was going to Clearwater, and we both were in Hollywood in California getting our clearances. And he was married at the time, and he and his wife at the time, they actually were. I said, "Where are you all going?" They go, "Oh, we're going to go be with L. Ron Hubbard," and I had no idea. And Tom and I, even though they were married, they had to stay in separate rooms in the dormitory, and Tom and I shared a dorm room. And then all of a sudden he disappeared, and I didn't see him because obviously he'd gone up to the international base. But anyway, yeah, that's how I first met Tom. And then, Tom, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself in terms of, when you went up to the base and what you were doing up there, and then we'll go into your relationship with Shelly.
Yeah, when I first joined, I believe it was to go to Clearwater, and which at that time I think I was there for again a very short period, and then I think you and I seen each other. This was down in L.A., right? The
Right.
Wilcox?
Yeah.
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 And then I went to Clearwater. Right from there, they recruited me for Hemet. So everything was really at a fast pace. So. Yeah.
And then when you went up to the Gold Base, they just recently bought it, right? I mean, you were brought up there to build the cinema, the gym. We had an earlier video of that, and we had photographs of you with Matt Pesh and several other people building that gymnasium, right? Which was actually a film studio.
Paul Schultz. Paul Schultz was the in charge, and I was the assistant for the gym.
Right. And what do you remember about building that facility? What do you remember about that time?
I tell you, I didn't even know what a hammer was. I mean, I didn't know anything about building anything. So, but I forget the gentleman's name. He was basically ran everything from the concrete, all the way from the subfloor all the way up. I forgot his name though.
Stu Moreau.
Who?
Stu Moreau.
Stu. Yeah, it could have been
Stuart Moreau.
Yeah.
Also,
there
was Chris Byrne. Do you remember Chris Byrne? He was the guy who'd do the plumbing. He was a blonde was he South African? No, he was English, right, Janice? And he's the guy with the bulldozer when you guys had the flood that could run the bulldozer. And then there was Matt Pesh, of course. Matt Pesh was there working on that as well.
And Alan was there. Alan's the one who gave me all the photographs, Zach.
Yeah, shout out to Alan.
Janice.
Right. Yeah, he's the one that told me about this.
Right.
Janice, you need to give photo credit for him with the picture of Tom. Go ahead. Who provided that photo to you?
Well, Alan provided me with that photo along with his wedding photos, which showed I was watching Alan's wedding to Eve. I was there, so he gave me some photos I didn't have either. And then he gave me all the gym photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Alan. What's his last name? Alan
Pamplin.
Pamplin.
Yeah.
Alan Pamplin. Yeah, because that was his wedding.
Pretty good contact, Alan and I, off and on.
Yeah.
And then
if he's watching
about this, it was great.
If he's watching, thanks, Alan.
Yes.
I'm sure he's watching.
Yeah. I'm sure he is.
And then, so how did you meet Shelly, and what happened with that?
I met Shelly when I first seen Shelly was in Florida at Flag. I remember she was one of the messengers there, and she was with, believe it or not, John Travolta. She was walking down the hallway.
Yes.
Oh.
And I said, "What a lucky man."
John used to come for auditing then, and a bunch of the messengers hung out with him. Yeah,
she was one of them. Yeah, that's when I first seen her. But and then I reunited. Basically, seen her again was down in Hemet. So, but we basically got together. I don't know how it all started. I don't know, but I know she was with David Miscavige, and I really didn't know who David was at the time. I knew who he was, but not how much authority he had. I was still pretty green. Because the day I got there, it was like right to work. It wasn't just with the studio. I did all the roofing down there in Hemet. Starting from down below all the way up to the top. We were doing all re-roofing. So right away, I started working.
Right. David was running the different missions to fix the base up at that time.
Yeah. And I remember seeing Shelly a couple times, just, walking here and there, no contact at all. I mean, it was just I remember seeing her, and then I don't know how we got together. I don't remember. I like to say that she picked up on me, but I doubt that happened. But I remember seeing her, and then I found out who David was, and then I didn't want to compete at all with that. Didn't even want my name mentioned around that guy. But then we got together, and the funniest thing is she would ask me to eat with her at dinner with all the other messengers and stuff. And of course, you knew, at the helm there was David Miscavige. So I was a little uncomfortable, but she used to say, "No, don't worry about it. Don't worry." Nothing, you know. I said, "Okay, as long as you're okay with it, I guess I'm okay with it." You know. But I would love to have a little food fight with him, but trying to throw some jokes in there. No, but we started seeing each other, and yeah, it was, you know, I certainly liked her a lot. I certainly did.
What was she like? What was she like back then?
Very intense. I know when work came to work, it was work, and there was nothing going to get in her way. It was she didn't really get, you know, persuaded to do, you know, let off course at all. She was, when work was work, including me, or that, you know, from what I seen, she was really on it. But she was a nice girl. I mean, we had some time, you know, we were alone, and she was fun. Really nice.
Did you guys in those days, did you get liberty days off or anything like that? Janis, do you remember?
Hardly. Yeah.
Well, in the CMO, I got every 2 weeks we got a day off. And actually, I think during part of the time, Tom, then when you were dating her, she was in Hemet, and CMO Int was down in LA for several months. So Dave was in LA and would have no idea that someone had moved in on his girl. But Dave did start making sure that every 2 weeks he was driving up to that Hemet base, you know, to see her.
Yeah. There was times where he called me into his office and just to, you know, play around with me, I think. But
well, what was he like? I mean, with your interactions with him, I mean, he didn't have the power that he later got. You know what I mean? In those days, he was just one of the messengers, just like Janis and everybody else, right? Janis, he wasn't the big boss.
No,
well, he had a little authority, didn't he?
He had authority that he assumed. He took more authority than he was actually given or should have had. He just kind of took authority, and people just stepped out of his way because of that.
And he had attitude. He had an ego and an attitude, and so like, oh, I'm above you, you know what I mean, and basically talked down to people all the time. You know, even when he didn't, when he wasn't the boss, he still talked down to people.
You know, I didn't really. I mean, honestly, he didn't push none of that really on me. Just, you know, he would make it. God, it happened so long ago. My memory's terrible, but
that's okay. Did he ever confront you? Did he ever confront you or give you a hard time about Shelly?
Only one that I do remember. He said, "Hey, listen, what's going on between you and Shelly?" He goes, "Fine, I ain't got no problem with it." That's all I remember. You know.
Okay.
But I felt like Sam. So what if you did? But no, I was.
But then Shelly broke it up with you, right?
Sure did, abruptly. I mean, it was, and she went right back to David for whatever reason. I don't even know, maybe why she went with me, just to make him upset, or, you know, I don't know.
Make him jealous.
Maybe he did something to her, and she was wanting to pay him back. Because it was, you know, I've been in not a lot of relationships at the time, but I've been in a few, and just to be dropped really fast like that, it was just, it really hurt. It really hurt.
Right.
Janis, do you remember anything about the relationship, Dave and Shelly, when they were getting together and all that?
Well, I remember Dave Julie, there was a few girls that were after Dave. There wasn't a lot of choices in the CMO. There was a few more choices outside in Hemet.
That's a good one.
At the base.
I like that, Janis.
Tom knows what she's talking about. I agree. There were only a certain handful of people at the base that you could even possibly date, you know?
Yeah. David probably was leading the pack there. So
Yeah, there was
I'll give him
like
credit for that.
you, Robbie Crivello, Mark
Robbie.
Yeager, Dave Miscavige. Who else was there around that age?
John Nelson was there, right?
John Nelson was older.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, Tom, let me ask you this, okay? Because later, what was it like when you were there at the base in that time period? Was there a separation between the messengers and the rest of the base staff that were building the gym and doing all that sort of stuff? Like, was there, you were allowed to mingle together? Because later, years later, it became, if you're in CMO, you do not go out with people in gold. If you're in RTC, you do not go out with people, you know what I mean? It became very separated. And that was due to Miscavige. Was it like, did you feel comfortable walking up to a messenger and talking to them, at dinner or lunch or whatever?
Well, I mean, when I was seeing Shelly, it was a lot easier to talk to him because I used to mingle with them a little bit. But no, I think we were pretty well instructed not to mess with the messengers at all.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah.
When they'd walk by, I mean, it wasn't. I'm sorry.
No, go on. Sorry.
No, I see. When I seen a messenger walk by, I mean, it wasn't. I don't think I'd be looking at him anyways. To be honest. I mean, you got to remember, I was married when I got there. I had a girlfriend when I first got into Scientology, and then I got married, and then I was divorced, and I seen Shelly, and then I was out. So,
right.
So to see a messenger, you could always tell who they were because of the uniform.
We didn't wear uniform there.
Yes, you guys would show up with uniforms. David used to wear. Didn't David used to wear a uniform or a jacket? At least a jacket.
Yeah, no, we wore. When we did the shoots up in the mid-res, in the middle reservoir, we used to wear the black and white checkered shirts. But otherwise, we didn't wear uniform because Hubbard was at X in Hemet. He wasn't at the base.
That's right.
And everyone wore civilian clothes so that we didn't stick out as military type.
Right.
Maybe I'm just getting confused. It's so long ago because I was at down in LA. I was there for a while in the Sea Org.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of auditing there, and so.
And then what
they all were in uniform there, if I remember.
Yeah, down in PAC, in LA, they wore uniforms, but at the base it was more civilian clothes and stuff. What were your what were your impressions of Gillham Hot Springs when you arrived there and at the base? What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty cool.
I did too.
I golf now. I wish I golfed back then. I would probably appreciate it more, but
I thought it was cool too when I got there.
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. All that. Openness, and don't remember now. Ken Norton was there too.
Well, he wasn't there when I was there, but when you were there, they were using it as a training camp, right?
That's right. Yeah,
boxing. Yeah, he's a boxer.
Yeah, he gave me a pair of his boxing shoes and a $1 million bill with his face in the middle, and wish that was real. But he gave me something else too. I think a pen or something like that. But he gave me some stuff.
Do you still have it?
When I flew, I left it there.
Oh.
Couldn't take Ken with me. Felt bad. Yeah, but it was pretty cool there. I didn't like how much work we did. Boy, oh boy. I'm always like, where's the time off? When are we going to do this?
And you were pretty young when you were there, right?
Yeah, fresh out of high school.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's funny.
And also a new Scientologist too, right? You hadn't done a lot of Scientology at that point?
Not at all. My Tom, my dad, he was already getting some auditing done. He paid for it, he's paid. And then when I joined the Sea Org, so did he. He joined right after I did. But it was funny when I first got down to Clearwater, mind you, I'm a young guy here and I had my girlfriend with me, and I was like, where's my room? Where's our room? And then the guy came out there and, I'm kissing on her inside the lobby area and stuff. And some guy walked by and he says, got to kind of tone it down a little bit. And I'm like, who's this guy? You know, tell me to tone it down. But then they said, okay, well, you're going to be in the dorm and she's going to a separate dorm. And I was like, what? Wait a minute here. This is my girl. I'm going to be staying with her, right? Nope. So that's why I got married. To be honest, I had to fly back home, had got parents' consent. And it was my stepmother, actually, the one that married us. And then we flew back and had our own room. Yeah.
That's wild.
Someone's asking what year this is. This is 1979.
Right.
Yeah.
Going into 1980.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Tom, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember in the men's dorm is I woke up once and there was a bug about this big on my chest. And then somebody told me, make sure you always have a tennis racket with you. You're smacking all these bugs all the time, you know.
That's funny.
Sharpened up my game a little bit.
So when did you finally leave, or what happened? Did you blew, or how did it go down?
I blew soon after Shelly dumped me, and I mean that was she wasn't the main reason, but I already had my thoughts that I wanted to leave. The only thing that kept me there was Shelly, and then after that was done, I left. How did you
get away? Do you remember? I mean, did you just drive off the property, or what?
I think I had my vacation time.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've been there at least a year.
Yeah.
And so you took vacation time and then just never came back?
Right.
Did they ever try and recover you, or try and get you to come back?
Did. Sure. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. You can send a whole army. I'm not going back. I will not go back. So they left me alone. Yeah.
I'm sure Dave wouldn't want you back.
I think he probably pretty well had Shelly locked in at that point. Like I said, I don't know why her and I got together. I don't remember. You know, I know there for a while we started flirting around, but it could have been maybe she just wanted a little payback on Dave. I don't know. Maybe it was like, Dave, either you're going to marry me or I'm going to go find, some other guy, which she did. But then that was David probably said, okay, come on, let's get married. I said, see you later, Tom.
Okay, well, we'll carry on then here with this, with the rest of it. And again, this is what Tom looked like back then.
Unreal.
Tom, you look good now too, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm 60.
Yeah, we all are aging.
64. Yeah.
I'm going to be 65 next month. So yeah, we're right around the same age.
So I'm the senior out of all of us.
You are.
I'm 67.
You always were.
Tom, do you ever remember Janis?
The hair. Holy cow.
Do you ever remember anything about Janis that you want to share?
When Janis and I first started talking, I'm trying to place the face, and I don't remember. And then I just seen that picture, and I said, "Oh, sure, I remember Janis." Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we had too many words, but I mean, I remember seeing you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to go on now and show the wedding photos of David and Shelly, and this was the wedding.
I'll sign off now. No, just kidding.
Are you're going to stick around? Will you take questions?
Absolutely, I'll stick around. Okay. Yeah.
So Tom's going to stick around. So if you want to, chat him up, put a question in the chat, and we'll ask him that. Okay. All right. So right now the wedding. These are the photos from Dave and Shelly's wedding. They got married at Gillham Hot Springs in the Massacre Canyon Inn in the dining room, right, Janis?
Yeah, and for the life of me, I cannot remember being there, and I'm only estimating it was December 1980 because Paul and I got married in November, and I don't know why I'm not there, or maybe I was and I just don't remember it.
Or you're on your honeymoon?
No, I was gone for a week in Hawaii and then came back in mid-December. So I don't know, but I figure it was December because my sister-in-law is in these pictures and she blew April 81. So within that 5 months, they got married.
Well, and then the photograph of them going to the Super Bowl, that would have been in January of 81. So,
Right. And they are married by then. So December seems good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here we go. There's Janis right there. Right, Janis? That's your big, your hair right up front. And then in the middle,
my hair.
In the middle is my my ex-wife, Julie Catano. We were married for almost 6.5 years, and she wouldn't leave with me, and she's still there. And then the other girl in the center is Cindy Hall.
Cindy Hall, yes.
Was she another messenger? Or?
She was another messenger. She'd done a mission with me to Clearwater, and we'd become good friends in that. In 79, we became good friends.
Okay. And this is a photograph here. This is the wedding party on the girl side. Of course, we got Shelly in the center. And then Janis, why don't you go ahead and say who the other young ladies are?
On the left is Doreen, or known as Doe. That was my sister-in-law. She was married to my brother. And then in the back, behind Shelly, is Gail Irwin. She was her maid of honor. And on the right is Clarice Barnett. Clarice Berceau, she was Shelly's older sister. We all called her CB.
CB. Now, Gail was chosen as the maid of honor. Were Shelly and Gail really close back in those days?
On the ship, Shelly and Gail roomed together on the ship.
Uh-huh.
So Gail knew her probably better than anybody else, having been roommates. And then Shelly was the deputy for Doe. And of course, CB was her sister. So that was the choice.
Got it. And Doreen was the commanding officer of the Commodore's Messenger organization at the Gillham Hot Spring base. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And there's a close-up of Shelly holding her flowers.
So happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to throw that in there, right?
Yeah, good one.
So happy.
And this is sorry. This is the ceremony.
Here. Okay, Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the ceremony here. You can see Dave and Shelly there. On the right is the minister, which is Norman Starkey, and he's holding up the rings. It's a double ring ceremony in Scientology. And then you can see Gail in the center there, and Doreen, to Gail's left. And then John Nelson, you can't really see him, but he's on the left-hand side of the photograph. And he worked with David Miscavige, and he must have been David Miscavige's best man. So that's where they're getting married in MCI. And then this is a close-up of Dave and Shelly without the other people around there when they got married. And in 1980, they would have been, how old were they? They're born in 60, so they would have been 22 years old. 20 years old, 21.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, 21 years old when they got married.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's a photo afterwards of them, husband and wife, Dave looking down on Shelly, and that was the picture there. And those are the photographs of the wedding. And then, of course, here's Miscavige now on the right as to how he looks recently. And that's a more recent photo of Shelly. And, of course, Shelly has, she's been missing. Miscavige, put her up at we think she's up at the Church Spiritual Technology location up near Lake Arrowhead in California. And that's where she's been sighted by Mitch Brisker, saw her in that area. And we did an interview with him. And he got rid of her, and she's over there, and who knows? Nobody knows if she's still alive, but we seem to think that she is. But she's basically doing stuff, working for L. Ron Hubbard's, archives, and putting his stuff, so that it's available if there's ever a nuclear war and the planet gets invaded by aliens or whatever. So that's what she's doing. And Miscavige, of course, is running Scientology into the ground, and he is a sadistic person who likes to abuse people, and that's where they're at right now. Okay.
Well, and hopefully Shelly is not being near Dave. She's happy in her surroundings and making, as best as she can of her life where she is. Yeah. That's what I'm.
One thing's for sure: if he's not with her, look, it was always better when he was not at the base, Janis. You'll agree with this. When we
Oh,
worked,
absolutely.
if Dave wasn't there, life was great. You didn't have all the yelling and the screaming and all the other abuse.
Really, huh?
I can imagine Shelly living with Dave 24/7, and she worked for him as well. So she had to put up with a lot of crap,
Sure.
And so it's probably a relief to some degree that she's not with him. But of course, nobody wants to see her locked away or anything like that.
Right.
Well, Paul used to say he'd be sitting working, then he'd go, "Oh, Dave must be here. The bass feels heavier."
Oh, wow.
That's it. So anyway, so that's the wedding, and we have another thing that we're going to do, Janis. Last week we went over missing Scientologist Sea Org members who are out of communication with their families, and we went over Andrew Barton's story and his family. Yeah, do you want to give an update on that? And then we have somebody else that we're going to call out. So go ahead, Janis.
Yes, this is my Scientology out of comms segment. Andrew Barton, we've gotten a list of different Andrew Bartons who are in Australia, and his dad and a friend are starting to go through that list to start calling where we've got phone numbers. We haven't had much luck. It seems he didn't get a U.S. driver's license, so it's hard trying to track him down in the U.S., and we don't think he stayed here. So anyway, there's a little progress on that. A lot of people helped to help us at least get the list that we have now of phone numbers to call. So moving on, as I've said before, my segment is Scientology out of comm. In Scientology, the basic course you do is the communication course. And your first grade is grade 0, which is communication. So communication is the very basis of being a Scientologist. And to be out of communication with your family means you don't even have that step in your backyard. So how do you expect to help other people communicate and improve their world through communication? So that's where I'm calling people out that I know are in there or people have alerted me to. And this week is another person who I grew up with, and that's Marian Pouw. Some know her as Marian Dendu. She is the sister-in-law of Karen Pouw, who used to work for OSA and was one of the public relations, a spokesperson. Karen was married to Marian's older brother, Anthony. And Marian, you can go ahead with the first photo. I've known them since I was 3 years old. I'm not in this picture for some reason, but my sister is there on the right side, the younger brother, Robert, and then my sister, Terry, is holding up the baby, Julianne. And then Marian is right behind her. You can only see half of her. And then to the left is Jennifer, who is my age. I was going to say, this is in Australia, right? Not in England. Yeah, this is in Australia. And Jennifer and I met when we were 3 years old. Wilma used to come and clean our house and take care of us. And I remember getting in trouble with Wilma because I bit Jennifer. And I guess that was the way I made friends. But anyway, so Jennifer and I actually became best friends and grew up together in Australia. And then here's another picture, Marian in the front with the baby, Jennifer, and then that looks like Terry, and then Anthony is the tall one and Robert's the short one. Okay. And then in 1968, the whole family, the Pouw family, came to the Royal Scotsman, having joined the Sea Org. So as Tony and Wilma were the parents with 5 kids, they came to the ship. And after Wilma's experience of being there and the state of the ship and the Sea Org back in the 68, Wilma was like, this is not for us. So instead of going back to Australia, they moved to Holland, where Wilma and Tony were originally from. Marian at this time was Mary Sue's steward, or her assistant steward, but she worked directly with Mary Sue. And she did not want to go, but Wilma said, nope, you're coming. You're underage, you're not 18, you're coming with us. So Wilma made Marian come with her.
So who's in this photo here?
Marian is the person there on the right. And then next to her is Captain Bill on the megaphone. And then Mary Sue looking over the edge of the ship. And you can go to the next picture. Then this is probably around 85, no, probably earlier, 84. That's my sister on the left and Marian. Marian, as soon as she was old enough, she left Holland and went to St. Hill and was working for Jane Kimber in the Guardian's office as her steward. And then Jane sent her on a mission to the U.S. Guardian's office right around the same time the CMO was doing the takeover of the Guardian's office. And Marian was at the USGO, and she started spilling the beans to us on what the GO was doing. So she then came over to the CMO and later on working on Special Project and working with my sister at ASI at Author Services. So you can go to the next picture. Then in 85, Tony and Wilma came to the US to visit. In this picture is my dad on the left, his second wife, whose name was also the same as my mother's, Yvonne, and their son, Ian. And the white boots is my sister, Terry, and Fernando behind her. In the shorts is me with Paul behind me, and Marian's dad, Tony, and her mother, Wilma, and the younger sister, Samantha. When they were on the ship in 68, Samantha didn't even exist. So this was my first time meeting Samantha when they came over to the US and visited us. And, you know, Terry and I and Fernando and Paul, we were all Sea Org members, and we took the time to come and visit with them coming over from Holland. Then the next picture. Here is Marian again with Terry, me, Marian, and Karen Gents. And we were in front of the complex here. This was at Alexander's christening.
That's Karen Delacarriere, Karen Gents. You guys will know her as Karen Delacarriere on the right. And that's, she's got brunette there.
Yep. Anyway, okay, so the next picture is, there's Marian when she married Bill Dendu. And in this picture on the left is Steve Marlowe, then Mike Rinder. When I sent this to Mike the other day, he was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was in the wedding. And then Jesse Pritz. And I have not figured out who the best man was. And then Bill Dendu and Marian. And my sister Terry is the maid of honor. I don't know who the middle girl is. And then on the end is Shelly with Taryn Rinder as the flower girl.
Right. Now, there's a lot of history in this photo here, okay? Because Steve Marlowe was one of the first people in Religious Technology Center, and he's no longer in the Sea Organization. Of course, Mike Rinder, everybody knows Mike Rinder. Jesse Prince, who also was a top executive in RTC and is also a major critic and spoken out. And then we've got Terry, and then Shelly, of course. And then the little girl, Taryn Rinder, that's Mike Rinder's daughter. And that's the daughter that's still in the Sea Organization in Scientology. And she's the one that does the attacks on her father, Mike Rinder, on the internet and, you know, speaking out at groups about what a horrible person Mike Rinder is. And that's his daughter, little Taryn Rinder, right there.
Right, right. And then the next picture is... this was Author Services. On the left there in the front in the brown dress is Marian. She was the deputy for my sister, Terry, who's in the middle. Terry was the executive director at ASI. And then on the right in the front is Maria Starkey, who we all called Lovey, because that's what Norman called her. And then I'm not going to go through who all those other people are, but the main point here is Marian. Here she is with a Sea Org career. And after ASI, she was taken by Miscavige and made his steward. And then she was used to go around and recover blown Sea Org members. She did that with Hansuli, Stali, and Mike Sutter. And she went around trying to recover them, trying to get people to stop talking. And when my brother and I started speaking out, she actually contacted my father because she knew him as a kid. and told him, you need to handle Peter Jr. and Janis because they're speaking out. Well, they sent him to come and visit us. And this was in 2012. And we successfully managed to turn him around and point out to him that the money he was donating was being used on private investigators to follow our lives and track us down and try and disrupt us and disrupt other people. Anyway, he finally turned and joined his family over the criminality going on in Scientology. Anyway, but my point here is Marian was a good friend through all these years. And her mother is going to be 92 next month in August. You can go the next picture. There's the mother, Wilma, with Tony. And Tony actually passed away, in the early 2000s, I believe, or around 2010 or something. And he was in email touch with me, sending me a few things, souvenirs. And then he passed away. And later on I asked if Marian knew that he'd passed away. And he didn't want Marian to know. He was like, she didn't have time or care enough for me while I was alive. So why would she even care if I'm dead? And wow. That's how he felt about the lack of communication from his oldest daughter. And then in 2015, I went to England. You can go the next slide. And I visited with Wilma there on the left. And yeah, she's going to be 92 years old in August next month. And she has not heard from Marian nor the youngest daughter, Samantha, since the 1990s. Wow. So you're talking probably nearly 30 years she has not heard from her oldest daughter and her youngest daughter. Wow. And for a woman who had 6 children, she was wonderful. When my mom went to St. Hill, it was Wilma who came over 3-4 times a week, cooked for us. She made dance costumes for Terry and I, gym costumes for us. She did our hair. I mean, she was like our second mother when our mother went off to St. Hill. Absolutely wonderful woman. And she hasn't heard from, 3 of her kids joined the Sea Org and never came back, and she doesn't hear from them. And that's Anthony, the oldest, Marian, and the youngest, Samantha. And I'm calling them out because how can they even, there's Samantha there on the right. Yeah. But how can they even expect to help other people communicate, improve their lives, talk to their families when they don't even do it themselves? To me, it's absolutely disgusting.
It is.
So Marian and Samantha, I'm calling you out.
Yeah, and just like you said, Janis, communication is what Scientology is supposed to all be about, and yet they won't let these family members communicate. The Sea Org members communicate with their family or Scientologists for whatever reason. Like, I don't even know. I mean, were they declared suppressive people or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of, but even so, it would have been back in the 1960s or something like that. But back in 68, Hubbard even put out saying, we don't need to disconnect anymore. We have the technology to handle suppressives and potential trouble sources. And he even would encourage the crew to write because it created public relation problems, with the family and people going to the press and people filing missing persons. And it created bad public relations for Scientology. And these family members, not even just sending a postcard, if you don't have the time of day, send a postcard. Just let them hear from you. Know that you're alive, that you're not dead. Like these daughters, I've forgotten their names right now, but one of them, she was told for 17 years her dad was dead when he was alive.
Oh, that was that video that Aaron did.
Yeah. Do something to help, communicate with family, encourage people to reconnect, because that's what's going to help things better.
Right. Well said, Janis.
There you have it.
Sticking to it.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody. So we're going to go to questions and answers. So go in the chat. If you have a question, please write question in there ahead of it. You can super chat us, super sticker us. Tom is here. He'll answer any questions. We'll answer any questions you've got.
Sure.
And also, we wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our show and to our channel. We appreciate all of our subscribers, and we'd like you to subscribe if you hadn't. About a third of the people that watch our stuff has never subscribed to us. Please hit that subscribe button, because you're going to see great content like this. Tom, we had no contact with Tom whatsoever, and just 3 days ago, all of a sudden, now here he is. He's on our channel telling his story about Shelly, and that just came out of people just watching our channel. I mean, we've had other people reach out too, haven't we, Janis?
Yeah, we have. But with Tom, it was funny because he made a comment on one of our earlier videos. I'm like, Tom, timing.
Yeah, shout out again to Alan Pamphlet.
Yeah.
The one that made it happen. Yeah.
Old Zach.
Yeah, that's right.
Nickname?
Yeah, that was his nickname because everyone had to have a different name. So his name was Zach.
Did you have a different one, Tom?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know. I really don't know.
All right. So anyway, people, you can ask questions right now in the chat, not in the comment section. So I'll pull that down. But Janis, if you go ahead and star the stuff, I'll go ahead and get started on the questions that we already have starred, and we'll get going right here. Peeling Master, Dennis Mason. I could live with a title like that. Who the heck are you? Why am I the Peeling Master? Watch me peel. Okay. We do have, like I said, new members. This is Maharada in Espanol. Thank you so much for becoming a member of our channel. Jay Warren, he became a member of our channel. Thank you so much, Jay. We appreciate the support. And Jen became a YouTube member for us as well, and we appreciate that, Jen. We'll go to the next here. Love Food Kitchen. Oh my God, they are calling peeling. They're all called peeling. Okay. Peeling. Yeah, peeling. Yeah, well, we were going to do peelers, but Janis didn't like, we were going to be master peelers or whatever, and she didn't like the way that sounded. So it didn't.
It's not a
sounded like a solo 2D assist. Okay. So we changed that. Okay. Here's the next question here. TF, where is Tom originally from? My maiden name is Francis and my family is from Missouri.
Minnesota.
You're from Minnesota originally?
Yeah.
And you live in California now, right?
Yes.
Fabulous.
But my my real last name, my biological father, his last name was Provost.
Okay.
So Francis is not really my birth, I should say, bloodline. So,
I got it. Yeah.
So Francis,
and we knew Tom for
stepfather.
Yeah, we knew your stepfather. He was at the Gold Base and also in Clearwater.
That's right.
And all that too. Okay, great. All right. Thank you so much, TF. We've got a super chat here. Free Xeno Project. Thank you so much for the super chat. Before I knew David was so short, I thought Shelly was close to 6 feet tall or more. Dave is short.
What was he, about 5'8"?
No. Like 5'5". Yeah, 5'5".
Was he that short?
Yeah. 5'4", 5'5".
He wore cowboy boots for a reason with the 2-inch heels.
Wow. I didn't know he was that short.
Yeah. Yep, he was. Hey, thanks, Free Senior Project, for the super chat. We appreciate it. All right, what do we got next here? From TF, how long have you been out, Tom?
Oof. Since 81, right? 80.
Yeah.
1980.
81.
Yeah.
Well, you were gone before the wedding, so it would have been 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. And we're gonna get this is a question that questions are gonna ask. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Did you go out 2D with Shelly?
Won't answer.
Okay, there you go. Thanks for the question. And we'll go on to the next one.
That's a gentleman answer.
Yeah, that's the gentleman never speaks. Linda
right.
P. Goling, question. Did Scientology have Shelly ask Tom to return after he blew?
No.
No, they didn't do that. Okay. I'm trying to think. Some of these aren't questions. The Mrs. question. Did you say Dave and Shelly got married at the golf course clubhouse? Yeah, they were it was the dining area, right? It was the clubhouse dining room.
It was the dining room, which was also like a setup with a dance floor, a wooden dance floor, and a cafe. And then there was a game room off to the side, and there was a bar. Yeah, what we called MCI. It was Massacre Canyon Inn, and that was the main building where everyone congregated.
Yeah, and it was a big bar too, right, Tom? I mean, it snaked through that whole dining area. It was like literally, and it overlooked the old practice green for the putting green for the golf course.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice place.
Yeah, I was going to mention this earlier, but Matt Pesh told us that you guys got there, that there was still food and booze in MCI, that you guys eat like steaks and lobsters and all sorts of stuff, because they still were somewhat in business, I guess, with Ken Norton there and all, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. I think they had so much time to get out. I think Ken might have been the last one to leave.
There you go. Okay, thanks for that question. This is from Cornelius Antonius. Thank you, Thomas Francis. Yeah, Tom, we really appreciate you coming on here and telling your story.
Yeah, without a doubt. It was great.
Okay.
Great seeing you guys for sure.
Yeah.
No problem. All right, and then a question from Love Food Kitchen. Question, how interesting. I assume Karen Pouw was her birth name. Karen Pouw is the spokesperson that Scientology uses, right?
Yes.
I didn't realize it was her married name. Pouw never seemed very FR, so that makes sense. French. Do we know Karen's maiden name?
I don't. But yeah, she'd been married to Anthony.
Okay. And Karen Pouw it's basically the pseudonym that David Miscavige uses anytime they want to put out a press release for any story, because Karen Pouw was the spokesperson, but she hasn't been seen in forever. And Miscavige, whenever he puts out a statement, he puts it out in her name.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Next question here is Rock It Out with Kim D. Heyi. Question, do all Scientologists christen their children? Why or why not? Janis?
No. Some will. If they're in the organization, they'll have the chaplain do a christening ceremony. There is a book of Scientology ceremonies, and there's a christening service in there, and there's wedding services and a memorial and funerals, and that's what's used. But not everyone christens their children. Those who decide to.
Okay. Thanks very much for that question. We've got another one here. Cornelius Antonius says, question for Thomas Francis. What's on your picture wall behind you? What's that a picture of?
Me.
Of you?
It's a mirror.
Oh, it's a mirror. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the best kind of picture, when you can see yourself.
That's right. Huh? There's a lot of pictures, but that's family. And I have a daughter who's 36.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple of grandkids.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the next question here. From Martin Ottman, question for Janis. Are you currently in contact with Tanya Burden or even with Anne Rosenblum? If so, would they be willing to do an interview with you guys?
I have not talked to either of them since they blew. So I'm not in contact. I heard Tanya was here, and then I heard she moved to Texas. Because it was funny, one of my girlfriends had a Book of the Month Club meeting at my house to go over my book, Commodore's Messenger. And one of the ladies there was good friends with Tanya. And I'm like, oh, have her call me, but she never did. But, Yeah, if she would be willing to be interviewed, sure, I'd interview her and Anne.
That's great. And Anne was a messenger as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this is, for anybody who doesn't know, this is Janis's book here, Commodore's Messenger, which you can order on Amazon. She's got book 1 and book 2. And so that's, yeah, Janis has 2 full books. Tom, I don't know if you're aware of that, but she goes over all of her. That's Janis on the cover with L. Ron Hubbard on the Apollo. Janis, what are you, 12, 13 years old?
I think I'm about 13 in that picture.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that great? Okay.
That's great.
All right. Thanks, Martin, for that question. We'll go to the next question here is Russ T. Remember a guy named Jake or Jeff B?
Sure. Yeah. Jake Brunzil.
There you go.
This,
Good.
This Russ T must be somebody
Good
who
friend of
worked with
mine.
you.
I don't know what happened to him, but he was a good friend. We lived together for a while.
After you left the Sea Org or when you were in the...
Yeah. He was in the Sea Org with me. And then he blew also. Then he moved to Houston when he got out. And then when we reconnected, I moved to Houston, actually.
Okay.
So...
All right. Thanks for the question. Anybody else, if you've got questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Write question in front of them. If you want to super chat us or super sticker us, we would really appreciate the contributions. And we will go on to the next question here from our friend Jefferson Hawkins. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? I knew Sammy Pouw when she was in marketing. Wonderful lady. I ran into her in LA after I left. Funny story.
Well, we'll have to get Jeff on and find out that story one of these days.
That's right.
Exactly. Hey, Jeff, thanks very much. I hope you're doing well. Next, John and Jenny Gaines. I got in late, sadly, so don't answer if you already have. But was it a loving wedding? Did they appear to be in love? I wasn't there. Janis, what do you think?
You know what? I can't remember the wedding, but I hung out with Dave and Shelly for years. Paul and I would go to the movies with them. We'd go skiing for the weekends together. And yes, they were in love and they had a good relationship. And when Dave had to go off somewhere and meet Pat and it was Lib's time, he would make sure that someone would include Shelly and take her with them. So she wasn't left at home doing nothing while he was off seeing Pat.
And when I worked for them, first of all, you didn't really show affection when you were in the Sea organization because you didn't walk around holding hands and all that. But they rode around on the same motorbike and she had her arms around him. And I saw them. I saw some loving moments, in private in their office and stuff. But basically, I never really saw anything where they hated each other or they didn't get along. They always seemed to get along. Yeah. So that was my observation up until 1990.
But I must correct you on the statement not holding hands because people did. Paul and I, every day going down to dinner and lunch from CMO Del Sol down to MCI, we held hands the whole time walking down.
Well, maybe I misspoke. I meant you didn't see people kissing and making out and things like that.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? You didn't walk up to your wife and just kiss her.
Not like Tom in the Fort Harrison lobby.
Okay, thanks, John and Jenny. Thanks, John and Jenny Gaines. We'll go to the next question here. Martin Ottman again, question from Mark and Janis. When you were in, did you know or did you read Omar Garrison's book, The Scandal of Scientology? Were you surprised when he suddenly became an enemy of the organization? I never read that book. I didn't read it in or out, but he was the one who was connected up with Jerry Armstrong, right, Janis?
Yes. Yeah, he was working on the book from the data that Jerry was getting him. And he was actually interviewing messengers and that type of thing, working on that book, I believe, when I left. He'd done the hidden story of Scientology, but he was still working on this one. And he himself had not realized stuff until he was doing that project.
Okay. Thanks very much, Martin, for that question. We'll go to the next one here. Free Xeno Project question. Back then, did Shelly seem happier when Dave wasn't around? Or is that as time went on? Well, when I was around them, they were always together because they worked together. So, everywhere Dave went, Shelly went. But before that, Janis, I mean, when Dave was in LA doing special project, and Shelly was the CEO of the base there, the CMO in Gold. What was it like then? What was the relationship like?
Well, they were getting along great. But Dave was in LA. She was up at Gold, and then I helped them get back together again because my brother worked at Gold and was telling me how rough things were and that Shelly was the problem. So I fired an observation mission into CMO to find out what Shelly was doing. And I was told not to do it, but by John Nelson, because he'd have to deal with DM if anything came up. And so I was like, well, with or without your permission, I'm firing the mission. And I got that mission in there. And it started reporting up. Shelly wasn't doing things properly. And the next thing you know, I'm busted for direct non-compliance. And then Shelly gets busted and joins me on the decks.
Wow.
So you ended up working together.
And now that Shelly is no longer on a post, Dave is able to swoop her up and get her to be his assistant. And that's how
right.
that happened.
She had a great personality. I mean, when I was alone with her, she was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, she was cute. I mean, she had a nice little personality. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, she was nice.
Okay, thanks very much for that question. We've got a super chat and Hummingbird. Are the Hubbard children still alive, Janis?
Yes, the oldest, Diana, is still in the Sea Org. She, as far as I know, she works in management public relations. Then Quentin, he passed away from suicide back in 78, 79, something like that. No, 77, way back. And then Suzette is still alive. She lives in the Los Angeles area. She has 3 children that are all growing up now. And then Arthur is also in the greater Los Angeles area, and he still does his artwork, and he has a website where people can go to look or buy his art.
Right. And then Nibs is dead. L. Ron Hubbard Jr. He's no longer alive. And then Katie and Alexis.
Katie passed away as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much for that super chat. Yeah. All right. Pembroke Love question. I just read a thing about Hubbard's son having done a pregnancy rundown on someone on the boats. No one seems to know what that is. Any idea, Janis?
No. About Hubbard's son.
Pregnancy
so that
rundown?
would be Quentin running a pregnancy rundown on someone on the boats. That would be on the Scotsman or the Apollo. No one seems to know anything. No, I don't either. I mean, if you can email me as to where you read that, I can try and track some information down, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Thanks very much for that question. Next, we have a comment. I hear so many stories of photos being confiscated upon blowing. So glad these photos were preserved. Yes, we are too. And Janis has been like a hound dog, snooping them out everywhere. And that's why we were able to provide them and show them to you guys. So we're glad that you enjoy them, and we've got much more coming.
Yeah, I've had people go, hey, I've got these old photographs. I don't want them anymore. Would you like them? I'm like, sure.
Again, a shout out to Alan.
Yeah, Alan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I got a care package from Alan the other day with these old MCI, Massacre Canyon Inn ashtrays and shot glasses and an old key to a room and a badge. I mean, Alan's just full of all these little things. Yeah.
Okay, way to go, Alan. That's good.
Okay, great. We got another question here from Mark Notman. Question for Mark. Who took over the LRH archive project after Jerry Armstrong left the Sea Org? Was it Vaughn Young? Were the original documents ever given back to Hubbard? Well, I don't remember who took over. I think it was turned over to CST, all of those archives, Church of Spiritual Technology, after the corporate sort out was done, and they were all just donated and brought up there for protection and safekeeping. Dan Sherman was hired as L. Ron Hubbard's official, quote unquote, biographer, but he never produced a biography. And he became David Miscavige's speechwriter full time until the day he died, I guess, in the last year. But that's who I remember. How about you, Janis? Do you remember anything about that?
No, pretty much the same information.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much for that, Martin. Next question, John and Jenny Gaines question. As I was in different cult, I do have a question for Janis, and that is this: does she realize how strange that picture of her and Lando looks? It's an odd photo, still different cult, same. I don't understand that question. Do you?
I don't either. Who's Lando?
I don't know.
The only picture we showed was me sitting there next to Julie and Cindy at the wedding.
Oh no! Well, then we showed photographs with the Marian Pouw's.
With the Pouw family, yeah.
Anyway, Jenny, if you want to, John or Jenny, if you want to clarify that, please do so in the chat, and we'll answer it. Okay, what do we got next here? Chuck Beatty in the house. Hold on, where is it at? There it is. Okay, Chuck Beatty. Whatever happened to Gary Miyahara? Anyone remember him? He went over the rainbow in '77.
Yeah, Gary Miyahara. Gary Miyahara is friends with me on Facebook. He never answers any messages I send him, but he does. Oh, he did. He did answer a couple so I could confirm it was really him, but otherwise he just likes things that I post.
Who was he? What did he do in the Sea Org?
He was a messenger. He was at X.
Yeah.
Gary Miyahara. He was at La Quinta, and then he was at X, and a little bit at Hemet.
Okay. All right. Here's the next one. I don't know if this is a question or not. Was this when Jackson's story overlaps? Amazing, all the connections being made between the dots. Jackson's story overlaps. I don't know.
Yeah, that's because Jackson arrives at the base at the time I'm on the decks and Shelly's on the decks, and he's watching both Shelly and I as we're working together, and he's working with us. That's what they're referring to, because Paul and I were Jackson's legal guardians when he came to the base. And so he hung out with Paul and I, and then Shelly had to work with me despite me having been the one to get her busted.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chuck. This question here. What about Alexis? Yeah, I don't know if she's dead or alive. I think I said she was dead on a previous podcast, but I don't. This is Alexis Hubbard. This is Hubbard's previous child that he disowned. You don't have any other information on that, do you, Janis?
No, I'd have to research it. I haven't.
Okay. All right, next question. Shelly, Russ T. Question. Shelly once asked me what I thought of her two boyfriends. She wanted advice. One was DM, and I remember the other being Jeff B., but maybe it was you, Tom Francis. Any comment on it? I don't know.
It was probably Tom.
Yeah,
it had to be, because I don't know of anybody else who she was with, but Jeff B. was Jeff Brunzil.
Okay.
That's the gentleman that was with me in the Sea Org.
Right.
Okay.
And we looked close alike too.
Okay, great. All right. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Write question. If you want to super chat us, super sticker us, please do so. And we'll go to the next question again from Chuck Beatty. Did Thomas remember the treasure guy in gold? David something, I think prior or after Peter Gillham.
David Hogan?
David Hogan.
Is that right?
I that's what came to mind. Hoagie. Okay. We used to call him Hoagie, but I'm not sure if he was treasury.
That's right. Wow. It's been a long time.
Yeah. We're talking, 40 years ago? It's a long time ago.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
42 years ago. Yeah. It's amazing we still remember anything.
Yeah, really? Okay. Definitely.
All right. Thanks, Chuck. Next question from Kayla Brontz. Question: how tall is Shelly? She's taller than David. Easy to see from photos. I can't get over how angry and mean he can be based on how short he is. It's weird to me. I think Shelly's close to like probably 5'6". She's probably pretty close to this. Like, I don't remember. She didn't tower over Dave, but she obviously
No,
wore heels too.
I think she's probably about 5'5".
Really?
Yeah, 5'5", 5'6". Well, I was 5'6", and I think I was taller than her.
Yeah, and Dave may have been on the 5'4" side. I mean, 5'5"
Yeah, it's
may
hard
be
to
generous
believe.
with him.
I didn't know he was that short.
He was short. Okay.
Huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 6'1". I was 6'1", and I was much taller than him. My ex-wife Julie was 5'1", barely over 5 feet, and she was shorter than Dave, but they were to that. It wasn't too big of a difference. Anyway. All right. Thanks for that question. We've got Danielle Chamberlain in here. Hi, Danielle. How you doing? Question: what does Janis feel towards Hubbard now? Loaded question.
Oh, that's putting me on a hot seat.
Yeah, really, yeah.
Oh boy. It's a mixed bag. There's good and there's bad. And there's stuff that I've seen that has helped people, and there's stuff I've seen that is just so suppressive, it's not even funny. So I think that's as far as I'm going to go with this.
Yeah. Okay, great.
That's smart.
Thanks very much, Danielle. All right, we got the next one. Jay Warren. Hi, Jay. Question: does Janis remember when World in Action interviewed Hubbard while he was on the Apollo?
Yeah, well, we were still the Scotsman at the time.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that. And I stood outside the office door while he was being interviewed.
Wow. And were they just British journalists, or what was it?
It was a journalist who happened to be, I think we were in Algeria or something like that, and he saw Bazerte, and he saw the Royal Scotsman, and he asked to come aboard and interview Hubbard, and he said yes.
Wow.
And then the guy took some video. I've got some footage of it. I'm trying to get better quality, because then I'll do a voiceover and say who the different people are and what they're doing. But it was where Hubbard didn't have a second wife. It was that interview.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thanks very much, Jay, for that. We appreciate it. Here we have a question for Tom. Number 5 and letter A. Question: Tom, what was your job at the INT base?
Wow. We did so many things. I mean, it wasn't, I don't know, laborer.
Yeah, you mainly did construction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have skills in that beforehand, or did you have skills in that beforehand?
No.
Right. So you
Not
just
at
were
all.
just like, hey, we'll teach you, learn on the job, and away you go, right?
This is a hammer and this is nails. It was that
That's what
bad.
Matt Pesh.
But which one's
Matt
the
Pesh
hammer?
said the same thing.
Yeah.
Matt Pesh told the story building the gym where it's like, oh, some girl had, oh yeah, my dad worked in concrete, so then she was put in charge of all of the concrete.
Yeah. There you go.
Kidding.
Yeah,
You know the
pictures
nail
always.
guns? We used to have these nail guns.
Yeah.
And we'd shoot, And I remember sitting, I don't know who I was with, but I said, how does this thing up? All of a sudden, bam, it shoots off and went right through the wall. And then they said, who shot that? And I went, oh boy, here we go. I said, I did. And he goes, all right, well, Tom, I'll talk to you in a little while. I said, okay. Nothing ever happened of it. But anyways, to answer that question, I would have to say a laborer. Huh?
Well, you did the gym. You were the assistant in charge of building the gym.
Yes, that's correct.
Which the gym was the first studio that we built.
Yeah.
And while that was being built, all the recordings, all the filming was done in the middle reservoir. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for that question. We'll go to the next one here. TF question: any perspective on the death of Shelly's mother? If you prefer not to say, it's okay. That happened when I worked for them, and I had no idea. It was never brought up. I didn't even know that it had happened. It was just kept quiet. I didn't know. How about you, Janis? Did you know anything about that?
I heard about it when I was there, and I've read about it later, and I just don't know how you can commit suicide with a rifle and 3 bullets to the chest.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Tom, if you don't know that, her mother supposedly committed suicide with a rifle, and she had 3 bullets in the chest, and that was the official cause of death, was suicide. I guess that was the police investigation, but the speculation has always been that Miscavige and Scientology were involved in basically covering up whatever it was, and there was a lot of speculation as to who might have done it if she didn't commit suicide. So that's what they're talking about.
But it was ruled as a suicide.
Yeah. Okay. Next question here. This is John and Jenny Gaines clarifying that earlier one. Just Jenny, the picture was Janis and Lafayette Hubbard. I was in a different cult, and it was still a strange photo. Also, Jackson tells the best story, Janis, Shelly, and he had to guard you. Oh, that's the story about when Jackson had to guard you and Shelly when you were on the decks, right?
Yeah, we were doing the cement stairways around the pool area together. And the picture is me and Hubbard on the deck, and there's other pictures of me and Hubbard. But I just view them as pictures, and I use them for my books and for the show.
The stairs that you guys made, were those the stairs that we run up to go from the villas or run down over to Del Sol?
Yeah, like the shortcut. The shortcut behind the pool. Yeah. Shelly and I and Paul and Jackson did all the cement work there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I have a question for you. Were you guys ever allowed to use the swimming pool when you were at the Gillham Hot Springs? Not at all, right?
No, not at all. No.
Oh. Were you there in the summertime at all when it was like 115 or 20 or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's when we had to put the roof on. We worked in that hot weather.
Do you remember where you lived on the property? Were you at the G units, or where did you live at that time?
Or Happy Valley?
Well, I was married there for half the period there to Nanny, so we had our own place. I was down below there, right by the mess hall.
Oh, you like we were in like in the lodges, the lodges.
The lodges, that's right. We were at the lodges, right? Yeah.
Okay. I later lived there with my wife, and Janis did too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they eventually became offices. We all got moved out into Hemet and had to live in apartments because they were going to make all those into cine offices, and we lost them all.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Let's go to the next question here. We're getting down near the end, people. Wiggly Woo question. Janis mentioned Marian coming to California and letting them know what was going on in the Guardian's office. What was she saying, and how did you all feel at the time about the breakup of the Guardian's office?
Well, Marian was just saying how anti-Sea Org Jane Kimber was, always mouthing off about Sea Org members, and just basically how the Guardian's office was run. So we were very appreciative of the information because we were in the middle of doing a takeover. So Marian basically came over and told us all the information we needed in order to do the takeover.
Okay. Thanks very much for that. We got a comment here from Jay Warren. Hey, Mark, thanks. Wow, Janis, that's so interesting. I had no idea you were right outside the door when it happened. He's talking about the interview on the Apollo. I'd love to see that footage. That's so cool. Okay. Thanks, Jay. We appreciate that. We got a question here from Kayla Bronsman. Question, how did David feel about his twin sister? She isn't talked about much. Denise.
Yeah, Denise.
Go ahead, Janis.
Dave was not impressed with his twin sister.
He had no contact.
As far as I'm going to go, I'm not going to get into what he had to say or anything, but he was not impressed with her.
Wasn't
Yeah, and I
she was
never.
a pretty girl, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. She was a pretty girl.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I didn't. I mean, to be honest with you, other than Ron Senior and Loretta, his mother, I never had, and Ronnie, his older brother, who was in the Sea Org, I never had any contact or any information whatsoever in the time I worked for David Miscavige about his sister, or he had two sisters, I think, right? And
Yeah.
none, yeah, whatsoever. Okay, thanks very much. We got another question, Chuck Beatty. Mark, the reason the Ron mags were made is explained in LRH's orders to author services. I hope Terry confirms this later. I read the author services traffic of Von Young did the first Ron mags. Okay, great. Yeah, rather than doing a biography, they started putting out Ron the writer, Ron the aviator, Ron the mariner, or whatever, and they do these little puff piece biography magazines, and that's what they did instead of writing a biography. Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate that. And we're getting here to the close to the end here. Thomas, you got out in 1981. Wow, you dodged the bullet. You certainly did, my friend.
Yes.
Okay, let's see here. All right. And question from L. Ron Hubbard. Now that person seems to know where Shelly is. Do you think the Church of Scientology will move her now? Now that people seem to know where Shelly is, do you think Scientology will move her now? I don't think so.
No
She's
reason.
been there for a long time.
Yeah, no reason.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, you know, the Church of Spiritual Technology, they have that location up there in Lake Arrowhead. They got 4 or 5 other ones that if they ever wanted to play, you know, hide Shelly, they could move her to any one of those places because they're so remote and there's a house there and, you know, and a vault there and all that. I mean, she could be any one of those places. They're all Church of Spiritual Technology. But the main headquarters one is in Lake Arrowhead up there in California. Thanks for that question. Martin Ottman question for Janis. Did you do the primary rundown while being on the ship? Did any staff members or public Scientologists start and actually finish it? Primary rundown, for those that don't know, is where you look up every word and word clear every word on the study tapes, on the L. Ron Hubbard lectures, which were the study tapes. And you look them up and cleared all the words for each tape, and then you listen to the tape. And that's what the primary rundown was. And if you finished that course, you got a certificate saying you were super literate. And my dad did that when he was in the Washington, D.C. organization when I was a teenager. How about you, Janis? Do you know anything else about that?
Yes, I did it.
You did do it.
I did do it. Yeah, when LRH was in New York between December 72 and September 73, he wasn't on the ship, so we were all put on full-time study, and we had to get through the primary rundown. So I sat there and I looked up every single word, and I think that's where I got a lot of education as to history and the world, geography, because I only did public school up to grade 6. And then
Right.
I was on the ship and we did reading, writing, and arithmetic. So doing the primary rundown enabled me to sit there and, you know, I would look up words, but then I'd go off into my own little chain and read up on various different things and this and that. And I'd learn about the world by studying encyclopedias. So, yes, I did it.
So you're super literate.
Okay, great.
Super literate.
Great. Janis, we won't do any more questions. We got 4 questions here left, people,
Oh,
and we'll
okay.
answer those, okay? And otherwise, we'll be here all night. And I know that Tom probably wants to go do something else after all this.
Oh, I'm having fun. This is fine.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We have a question for Tom from Chuck Beatty. Did Thomas feel job stability due to the importance of the building project? I felt all along, whenever I read LRH traffic that got priority and was being pushed, anything else lagged. In other words, if LRH said, we need to build that gym, that was the priority, and everything else that he may have said, that's secondary priority. Did you feel job stability due to stuff like that?
No.
Let me ask you this, Tom. Did you know that it was going to be a movie studio, that gym? Like, were you guys genned in that that's where L. Ron Hubbard was going to film his movies?
No, not at first.
Yeah.
It was just going to be a renovation. They were going to, renovate the. We didn't even know it was a golf course. We have no idea. They just said,
Was it golf?
It's just
when
a
I
big
got there,
field.
when I got there, the golf course was weeds. Okay, so when you got there, it was still grass, right? It was still a golf coursey grass.
Yeah, I mean, it was the greens they had the grass, but the fairways and stuff, there was weeds.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the
greens.
I got to walk that golf course many times catching gophers. Me, and when I wasn't doing that, Pesh was doing it.
I'm telling you, a lot of gophers. Yeah.
Okay, great. And also, there's a question. Pembroke Love, you asked about the pregnancy rundown earlier. Yes, we did answer that question. We don't recall anything about that and stuff. So anyway, we did answer that if you want to watch back, but we don't remember anything about a pregnancy rundown with Quentin Hubbard or anything like that.
Right.
That is all the questions that we have. And hold on a second here. I got to fix this. How do I hide that? There we go. Okay. Hey, listen, everybody, just a reminder, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And also, if you have other questions that we didn't miss, just write in the comment section on this video and we'll get back to them. We check them many times. Also, if you're interested in Janis's book, you can order it on Amazon.com. Tom, we want to thank you for being here. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we end off?
No, it's just great to reunite with you guys. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll stay in touch. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed having you on the show, Tom.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's been great, Janis. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
And I do remember you now, Mark.
Yeah, I'll send you a photograph. I've got your email address. You'll remember me better then.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.
All right, everybody. That's the end. I've got to go. See you till next time. Thanks very much. Tom, stay on. We're going to talk to you in a second.
Okay.